Hey there, and welcome to the Get Fit with Jodelle show. And I am happy to announce that after a little over a year, I have a very special guest back with me today. It's Mr. or Dr. Shawn Baker, I guess I should say, is with me again. I'm so thrilled to have him back because it's been just a little bit over a year. So I don't think you need any introduction, in my opinion. You've had such a large following on YouTube and all the different outlets, and you even have, I believe it's ShawnBaker.com now that we can talk about. But go ahead and tell people, why they should know you if they don't already.
Well, I don't know why anybody's, I don't know if anybody should need to know who I am, but, I'm just a guy that's been out there over the last couple of years promoting a sort of an alternative diet, which involves eating a bunch of meat. I've written a book called The Carnivore Diet, which is coming out very soon. The website, Shawn-Baker.com. Yeah, but I've been kind of a polarizing figure in the world of nutrition. Some people really get it and like what I'm doing. There's other people that absolutely hate it. And so it's just an interesting space to be in. My sort of overlying sort of driving factor is I just want to go where the results are. And it's interesting to see the results people are getting. And so that's, for me, basically what I predicate what I'm doing on, and it's results driven, and like I said, it's going to work for you, and so anyway, that's kind of who I am.
Well, and should we call you Dr. Shawn Baker, because I know you do have a background in orthopedics, right?
Yeah, I'm an orthopedic surgeon by training. It's kind of I'm a physician. I'm an MD. I got my MD in 20 years ago or something like that. So yeah, I'm a doctor. I mean, you don't have to call me Shawn, call me knucklehead. I don't really care. I don't put a lot of, we just have a conversation and, we'll just chat.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to have you on because, I did the carnivore approach because of you, because of finding your work and what you were putting out there when I was in the midst of a toxic mold exposure and had a bunch of health issues going on. And I did carnivore for 4 months and kind of reversed everything that was an issue for me, including getting my period back. And now I've transitioned into what I kind of call carnivore with benefits, where I include other foods, but I'm also very meat-based, which I like when you use that term meat-based. But I just found it was a really great healing phase for me. But what I also did during that time was something I found through you as well, called the Carnivore Training System. And that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today. I wanted people to know, because I don't know that it's really well known that you have an actual fitness training program called the Carnivore Training System. Maybe it is well known, but a lot of people that I talked to weren't aware of it. I actually went through the first 12 weeks and liked it so much that I wanted to do it right over again. So I wanted to talk to you about that today. And just, can you briefly just tell everyone, what is the Carnivore Training System?
Yeah, I mean, before I do, I just want to just a point that you said you did a carnivore diet for 4 months, and I think that's great. I mean, I think a lot of people, and this is what I see, and there's some misconception about what I actually promote. People think, I'm telling everybody to only eat meat for the rest of their life, and that's not the truth. I mean, I think what we end up finding out that, that certainly can be an option for people, and it certainly it can be very helpful for people, particularly people suffering from all various sorts of different diseases, and it can be a very helpful way to figure out things, fix things. And then, maybe you can transition into other things. And I think that's perfectly appropriate. And so I think that's right on with what you're doing. I think a lot of people like to call it carnivore adjacent or keto carnivore or hypercarnivore. There's all kinds of different variations on a theme. But I think at the end of the day, we realize how important, how valuable and nutritious that animal foods are. And that we really make them a priority in our diet. Then I think good things tend to happen. Mm-hmm. Doing the opposite of what we're kind of being told right now, which is make meat a condiment or eat some tiny sliver of it and, mm-hmm. and eat the rest with either plants or more likely what often happens is just processed food. Yeah. But to your point about the carnivore training system, yeah, I mean, there were people that were like, well, the carnivore diet is, you tell people eat meat, drink water, it's not that hard. Who's gonna want to be interested in doing that? You can tell them that in 2 seconds. But I think that health involves a lot more than that. And so there's also mm-hmm. There's sleep, there's recovery, there are things we can talk about later in the show. But from an exercise standpoint, I'm in my 50s. I've been competing, at a very high level, world class or a national elite level in all kinds of sports for my entire career. I've won world championships in multiple sports, set world records in multiple sports, different types of activities from powerlifting to high level rugby to competitive throwing type stuff, and now indoor competitive rowing. So I've basically done all these sports and reached some of the highest echelons in those sports. And so, and during that time, I trained with Olympic champions and world champions, and kind of pieced together what worked, for me from all of these different aspects. And I think as we look at just fitness in general, I mean, there's some of us that want to specialize in bodybuilding or strength sports, powerlifting or Olympic lifting, or they want to be excellent endurance athletes or CrossFit athletes. And so I think if you're doing that, that's fine. But I think for the general person, and even for some of these athletes, there are several components of fitness that I think you need to look after and maintain and take care of to be as functional as possible, particularly as we get older. And some of those things are, the strength training. You need to maintain strength and have muscle mass. And so I have, the system kind of includes a strength element, a hypertrophy where you're maintaining muscle. There is a component of conditioning, which I think is very important. I think it's very important to, have well-conditioned heart and lungs. And so again, as you know, there's some conditioning components to that, which I do. There's a lot of ways that people do conditioning, and CrossFit gets a lot of grief for things that maybe it exposes people to injury. And I don't mind their philosophy, and I agree with a lot of it, but I think at the same time, there are ways you can do your conditioning without getting hurt. And so I really try to design exercises that have really low risk of injury, but can be very highly both efficient, get the work done in the shortest amount of time, and very effective. And so in addition to that, and the other thing really people tend to overlook, and I got this from my throwing background, is this ability to be explosive. That is to jump, that is to be able to throw hard, that is to be able to sprint. So I include a lot of these, as you know, medicine ball throwing and slamming exercise and jumping exercise, which I think is important. Now that's predicated on the fact that, it's nice if you have healthy joints. And so we talk about how to transition into that. And this is where diet plays a role. I think diet plays a huge role in how our joints feel and how much inflammation we have. If our joints are inflamed and painful, it's very difficult to go jumping around, particularly if you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s. And so you got to include the dietary component in that. And so that was my approach. That's how I've done things for really decades now, and it's served me well. I've been really injury-free, been able to perform at a high level, easily maintain a decent level of body composition, and feel good and enjoy what I do, because I have fun. And I don't, and the other thing I often see people make mistakes with is they tend to combine too many things together where they're just wanting to get tired. I mean, do as much as I can so I can tire myself out. And that has maybe some utility, but really you want to make progress in each area. So when you're doing your strength training, it's not a conditioning exercise. And I see too many people in the gym where they turn these strength training exercises into conditioning exercise. And what happens is they don't really get well conditioned and they don't get very strong. Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of separate that stuff out. And that's why I kind of, as you saw, the program, I designed it so that you can separate these pieces out. And I think, we've had quite a few people who've gone through it, and most of the people have really enjoyed it. It's a little bit different from what they usually do. Mm-hmm. But like I said, it might be works, and it's what I like to do, and I think it's a fun way to do it. It's not as fun as stand up paddling, which we can talk about. What you like to do.
Well, yeah, we might have to talk about that too. But I wanted to say, I love what you just said about how it actually is beneficial for the body instead of just tiring you out and just wearing you down like so many exercise programs are about. For me in particular, it was the very first program that I've done, and I've been a personal trainer since 2000. And it's the very first program that I've ever done that actually put muscle on me. I've always been I'm lean and hard to gain muscle. And this was the first thing that I noticed, wow, I'm actually putting on muscle. And when I first started it, I was still in carnivory. I was doing the carnivore approach during that time. My workouts were stellar. Like, I had so much energy. I think people misinterpret the fact that when you're just eating meat or protein, in a sense, that you're not getting glucose, but you make glucose from the conversion of the protein. But what I felt was during that time, I was also having some adrenal issues because of the mold exposure that had just taxed my system completely. And I thought, am I going to be able to do this? But what I found out was the rest periods that you allow during the workouts that you've designed really kind of bring that lactic acid down and keep your strength up, so that in the midst of the workout, you're getting long rest periods, which allow you to push really hard when it's time to work again. And yet the workout itself doesn't take a lot of time. And I wanted to ask you about that. Like, were you always working out that way, or did you develop that need to create those longer rest periods?
Well, I mean, to answer your question, do I always work out that way? I mean, that is part of what I do. It depends. Like if I'm, like I said, I just won the rowing world championships, just a couple of weeks ago, and so it's gonna vary a little bit. But if I'm just in general maintenance mode, I generally try to do something very similar to what I design. Is I want to check all these boxes each week. So strength, conditioning, hypertrophy, fitness, explosivity type stuff. So yeah, I've always done that for many, many years. But your point about the rest periods, and this is something, one of the problems I see is people, there's something called a Tabata protocol, where people they go all out really hard, which I think is good in certain situations, particularly in the conditioning stuff. You go out really, really hard in a safe fashion. That's why the exercise I chose with things like the Airdyne bike and whatnot, you go hard, but then you have to have enough recovery or you're not going to be able to go hard again. Mm-hmm. And I think it's that going hard, that hitting that high level intensity, which is really driving some of the benefit, mm-hmm. for that particular modality that we're trying to train in. So if you go really hard, but then you under recover, you're not going to be able to go as hard again, and you're just kind of wasting your time. So I'd rather see people take plenty of rest, hit that high level intensity, and you only need to do it a few times. You don't have to spend an hour in there doing, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and you're done with that type of stuff. And because that's all you can do. I mean, if you're really giving it your all, that's all you need to do. And that's the thing I think I call some of these things chainsaw sprints. You're on a bike, you're pretending some madman with a chainsaw is chasing you, and you're running for your life. And you can only really do that for a very short period of time. But that's what we're looking for. We're looking mm-hmm. for this really, really all-out effort. And then the funny thing is, as you get stronger, those all-out efforts become better and better because you can go harder and harder and harder. So it's kind of this positive feedback system where it kind of circles around and as you get stronger, you can go faster. As you can go faster, you get better condition. So you get better condition, you can train harder. And it's just this positive feedback loop, which works pretty well.
Especially for someone like myself who was an overtrainer before I started with your program. In general, when you're teaching lots of classes or when you're a personal trainer, you're just trying all these different workouts all the time. And I was a runner too. And so I stopped all that in the midst of when I was sick and trying to get better. And then when I was like, well, I'm going to start this program because I'm kind of interested in it while I'm doing the carnivore approach. And so when I started doing it, I just felt a difference in my system in general, being able to tolerate high intensity, but then those rests really allowed for me to continue. And I actually felt like it may have helped my adrenals versus taxed them further, such as, my tendency to overtrain had done. Because it's really only 3 to 4 days is what you recommend. And then you also allow, which I love in there, for a lot of different modifications. So I found that really beneficial to where, like, if I didn't have a medicine ball, if I was traveling, I actually went outside and picked up a big heavy rock and would just kind of throw it over my shoulder, but hold it in my hand and not actually throw it, but just do the mechanism of the movement. So, I mean, you can make it work in a wide variety of ways, even if you're limited on space and equipment, which I love that because you give so many alternatives. If you can't do this, do this. If you can't do that, do this, So I really loved that, the way you put the program together. And the other thing that was really exciting was the way that you've laid it out, you don't really know what's coming until you get it in your email. And so it kind of keeps your enthusiasm up to where you're not doing the same workout each time, and every time is just a little bit different. And plus you don't know what's coming the next week until you open up your inbox. So how did you come up with that kind of strategy?
Well, one of the things was just to keep people engaged. We found that, people lose interest if they don't, exactly what you point out. You get that new little thing in the email, and it just tends to keep engagement there. But yeah, I mean, I when I was thinking about writing this, I mean, if I was writing for one person, I knew exactly what equipment they would have. I could say, do this, 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 and this. Mm-hmm. But not knowing what everybody had access to, I had to try to, get some basic stuff that I think everybody could have access to or reasonably has access. And you can almost do it all with body weight if that's what you want to do. And also not knowing who would be participating. If I had people that had never trained before that weren't ready for stuff, all the way up to people that had, pretty significant training background and access to all kinds of good equipment. And really the equipment that I use is the same stuff I pretty much have at my home. I bought this stuff that I think is really effective. I think there's a lot of stuff out there. Some of it's kind of a waste of time. There's a lot of exercises, in my view, which don't give you much bang for your buck. And I see them all the time. And I'm just like, why do you spend all this time learning how to get good at an exercise when it's not, when you can do this, is gives you the same result for so much quicker without the technical skill. And so I try to dumb it down, make it as easy as possible, make it as accessible as possible, at the same time making it both safe, effective, and efficient, which are kind of the things I kind of harp on. But yeah, I mean, like I said, yeah, you can go on vacation and do this workout if you got a rock. I mean, if you want to do some of the throws, just find you a 10-pound rock or a 20-pound rock if you're a guy. They're not hard to find, and you can turn that into your gym. It's very easy. And so I think, and also getting outside can be fun, as well. In fact, today I'm going to go outside and do some rowing outside, which is sunny, nice and sunny here in California. While my kids play in the pool, I'm going to be out there on a rowing machine, working up a sweat, and then
Awesome.
Getting outside, because that's a great thing. That's a great thing too.
Well, and I will say the first 12 weeks when I did the program, it was indoors because it was winter, but it was still a little bit winter when I started the next 12 weeks, and I actually did all of it outside because I loved the idea of just being barefoot and grounding and working out in this like carnivore approach, just like lifting heavy things, throwing things around, running from here to there. It was really fun, especially when you're doing like 250 kettlebell swings in a workout. It's like more than you think you can do, but then when you do it, you're like, I just did that. So it's really empowering too. What successes other than like what I'm talking about, like with my own health, have you seen? Have you heard from other people that said it really improved their physique or their fat loss as well?
Yeah, I mean, I've had just a whole number of people that have done that, and they're combining with a carnivorous diet, so both of these things are working, in tangent. You don't have to do it on a carnivore diet, but I think, a meat heavy diet certainly helps, particularly with the recovery aspect and the body composition parts. It's having enough protein and the right kind of protein and the right kind of nutrition in there. So I think that certainly helps. But yeah, I've got all kinds of people that have commented that how much they've enjoyed it, but also at the same time that they're getting good results with it and putting on muscle and leaning out and doing the things you should be doing. But at the same time, there's people that they're doing things they haven't thought of doing, and you're just as simple like jumping rope. I talk about the niceness of being able to just to jump rope. To start out with warm ups, because I think that's important. It's a skill that many people can't even do a simple jump rope. And so it's something that I think is very beneficial. Yeah, we've had lots of people through there. We're still getting people signing up for it, a couple people a day, which is cool. Good. Hopefully more will discover that and discover just a way to think about, it's not that this program is the ultimate best program ever invented, but I think it sets up a pattern on how to approach training and the things that I think are beneficial. And then you can kind of easily, and some of it I say, these are options, do something like this or something that you can do that's similar. So you can kind of make up your own stuff. And I do that all the time. I just make up my own workouts. So I know I want to hit these particular modalities. These are the tools I've got. And it takes me, 2 minutes to think of something, then I'm there, then I'm off and going. And sometimes, I sometimes train with my girlfriend, and she's a hard trainer, and I'll make her go first. And if she suffers through it, because she's fit, if she suffers through it, I'm like, oh man, I just made myself in for a world of hurt. So I gauge what I designed by her results.
She's your guinea pig, huh?
She's my guinea pig. Yeah, so she's been a guinea pig on some of these workouts I designed.
Great. Well, I commend you for putting together a program that not only is fun to do and it does keep your enthusiasm, but it also, I think, has some really great health benefits. Like I mentioned, those rest periods and the exercises that don't take a lot of time. You can be in and out of the workout in 20, 25 minutes, sometimes even less. And it just keeps it fresh. It keeps it fun. It keeps it accessible with all the different variations. So I love that. So let's tell them how they can maybe sign up for it or find out about it, or how they can get involved in trying out the 12-week program. And is it still 12 weeks, or are you adding new things to that?
So no, it's still the original 12-week program. I did a separate rowing program because people wanted to know what I do for rowing, because I've got world records in that. So I did a little separate add-on or sidebar rowing program. But it's if you go to Shawn, SHAWN Baker, BAKER.com. You just scroll down, it'll be, I think, one of the early links you come to. It just says Carnivore Training System. And so you can link to that, and it'll get you started. There's a little welcome video and that sort of stuff. And so, yeah, like I said, we're going to maybe expand things out this year to do some other kind of more focus, because some people are asking about how do I get really, really lean, and we can talk about some different strategies. But again, I think for a good overall program, I think that's, in my view, a pretty decent option.
Mm-hmm. And as far as like women and men differing when they're doing the exercises, I mean, what do you have to say about like helping, if, like you mentioned, if somebody's looking to get lean or to lose fat versus to build muscle, is there a different way they should approach the program, or will it just kind of affect everybody in their own way, that based on their nutrition and their life as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you are looking to get lean, I mean, diet is going to be probably the first thing you're going to tackle. And then I think, the program's going to help with that in general. I think in general, it's going to improve body composition. Now, if you're going to want to put on muscle, you're just going to have to eat a heck of a lot more. I mean, that's just the way it works. You got to do the resistance training. You may find that, like I said, I included that optional conditioning day. It was like 3 days of programming and then kind of an optional conditioning day. That particular day may be something, if you're trying to bulk up, you may want to sort of minimize that or eliminate that or do it sparingly, because you've got to eventually just eat more than you're burning to put on that muscle. And so there's an exercise, but in all honesty, exercise is not the main driver of calories that we use. I mean, even when we exercise, a fraction of our calories go to exercise. Most of it goes to basal metabolic rate and body heat, things like that. So not that, like I said, if somebody said I want to bodybuild, I would say I would design a specifically, maybe a completely specific program for that. But I mean, like I said, I don't think anybody wouldn't benefit from this style of training, just for overall, even bodybuilders, I mean, or powerlifters or endurance people would benefit from components of that program. I think that's
for sure.
important for all around health.
Yeah, and in regards to what you're saying about bodybuilding, like I've told you, since I was in year 2000, I started bodybuilding and personal training and stuff like that, and there really wasn't anything that ever helped me gain muscle until this program. And I don't know if it's because of the body weight combined with you're lifting heavy things and stuff like that, but I had done periodization, I'd done long rests and everything, but for some reason I think the design of this program just worked well with my body. So I'm hopeful that it works well with other people too, because it was probably the #1 program that gave me success. So while I have you here, I thought, since I had so much fun podcasting with you the first time, and you're always such a joy to talk to, I thought I'd do just let everybody get to know you a little better and do some rapid fire questions. So just some things that I think all of us
fire away, I'm ready.
Just some things I think that everybody would be interested in knowing about you, and to just get to know you a little bit better and see the softer side of this masculine man. So, so #1, what is your favorite cut of meat and your favorite food in general?
Well, I mean, I like ribeye steaks. I mean, they're just, they just got enough fat in them. They taste great, and I love to eat them, love to cook them. Obviously I'm on a carnivorous diet, so I eat a lot of meat. I like, big tomahawk ribeye, which I got one in my freezer right now. I might have to bust out that later today, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, I enjoy some other foods in that. I like eggs from time to time. I like some seafood here and there. I had some shrimp. I think last night we had shrimp.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, pretty much for whatever reason, red meat gets the job done. That's from both the taste and satiation and from a feel-good standpoint.
And do you ever crave certain foods that you're not going to eat them, but you just crave them? Or maybe at night you dream about other foods. You know how you ever have those food dreams where you're like dreaming about food that you haven't seen in a while?
I think that I don't have a lot of cravings. I mean, honestly, of the foods, I mean, I was a real dessert eater before, and I would still eat. If somebody were to say, eat something that's not in your diet, I would pick a dessert food. There'd be no doubt about it. It would be like a lemon cheesecake or chocolate cake, something like that. I mean, I don't crave pasta. I certainly don't crave any broccoli or vegetables. I don't really crave breads or anything like that. I mean, it's And I think we do have a little bit of hardwiring for sweet, and I think that probably goes back to our evolutionary when we occasionally were
Sure.
trained to get some calories out of sugar that was available in fruit.
Mhm.
So, that would be it for me. So anyway, and I think for people on a carnivorous diet, I think probably that makes sense. For a lot of people, maybe have a piece of fruit here and there, and
Mhm.
when the berries are ripe in the fall, grab a handful of berries. If it doesn't bother you, and again, this is the point we have to separate the people that are truly getting sick from exposure to
Right.
whatever in different foods, and people that are just trying to do it for fun or enjoying the way it makes them feel physically, and they don't have that bad reactions. And I think from time to time those things are fine. The problem is when time to time becomes an everyday habit, and then it dominates your diet, which so many of us live on a you know high high sugar, high junk food, high processed food, uh, eat every 2 hours type of mentality. That this really becomes problematic.
And do you drink coffee?
I don't. I've never liked coffee, which is kind of funny. I mean, it was kind of a funny story. When I was a 14-year-old kid, I used to work as a dishwasher at a hotel, at a Hilton hotel when I was, in high school. And so I would go there. I'd have to get there like 4:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, wash dishes before school. And it's tough when you're a kid. You walk in there. Kids aren't. You're tired. You're walking in. And I remember one day I was walking in. I guess I looked particularly rough, and the chef or the cook said, "Here you go, kid," and he handed me this cup of coffee, and I think it was like a day old or yesterday, I don't know. And I just tasted. I said, "This is the grossest stuff I've ever had in my life." I was like, "Yuck! I don't want to eat it." So I never liked it. And then I was dating this girl who was really into the flavored coffee stuff, and she made me try one. And I had one cup, and I was like, "It still doesn't do it for me." And so I don't, actually I like the smell of it when it cooks,
Mm-hmm.
but I just don't like the taste of it. It always tastes too damn bitter to me, and so I've just never got into it for whatever reason. So I've had like a cup and a half my whole life. So I've
Mm-hmm.
never found, but I understand a lot of people really like it. They really love their coffee, and it's
Yeah.
you know, and I understand that.
Yeah, I think if I'd have started with a day-old cup of coffee, that might have been a different story for me too. But I don't think anybody's going to like a day-old cup of coffee. So, yeah. Oh, okay. So, what do you consider your healthiest habit?
I think my whole healthiest habit is just it's consistency. I mean, I think that's
I like that.
discipline, consistency, and I think it's just valuing my health. I think that's if you want to talk about habits, I mean, it's almost a uh, thought process is just making sure that you're taking care of your health in some way every day. And just value yourself enough to take care of your health. And I know a lot of people think, well, they've got too many things on their plate. They're busy moms taking care of their kids. I see that particularly with a lot of women. They end up sacrificing their health for the good of the
Right.
family, the community, or their career. And I think you've got to prioritize your health, even if it means a 10-minute walk outside, or doing 50 body weight squats when you wake up in the morning, or something that will
Yeah.
get you that check mark checked off every single day. Or even if it's choosing a healthy meal, or eating a nice breakfast of steak and eggs or something like that. Making that habit of just recognizing that your health is important, I think is ultimately going to be better than any single thing you do.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great. I mean, if we could have one quality in our life, consistency should be it. With whatever we're doing, we should be consistent. So, okay. So conversely, what's your most unhealthiest habit?
Well, probably spending too much damn time on social media and doing stuff, because I mean, and I think we all suffer from that, looking at our little phone and typing stuff and Twittering and Instagramming and, all this stuff that unfortunately, or for good or bad, I mean, there's some good that comes out of it that we can communicate when we're talking and spreading messages and hopefully improving people. But at the same time, the very act of doing so takes us away from being outside and getting up on swimming in the pool, or running outside, or walking with the dogs, or spending time with the family, or
Mhm.
out on the stand-up paddleboard. So, I mean,
That's right.
if anything, hopefully I get in a position where I can kind of autopilot some of the social media stuff, so I'm not always the guy having I see the guys that have done really well for themselves, and they've got a team, and I've been up around some of these guys where, I mean, like, I've done podcasts and social media stuff for these guys, and they have their own video crew that does all the work. it's like, okay, well, that takes some of the stuff off your back, so you don't have to stare at the damn phone all the time. So yeah, I mean, I think that is probably my worst habit.
I think a lot of us can relate to that. I always tell people we got to get rid of living by the rectangle, the little rectangle that everybody carries around in their pocket and in their hand. I'm like, let's not live behind the rectangle. There's a world waiting for you on the other side of the rectangle.
Well, and that goes to health a little bit, because I mean, in all honesty, it's probably not going away. We're going to probably continue to do more of that. But there are so many people that are physically sick, and it's just so common, whether mental health, or actual physical sickness. And mental health is physical as well. It's just different physiology in the brain. But and so their real world life is not that good, because they don't feel good, and they stare at this rectangle and interact and go into virtual world, and that gives them more joy. And I think that's something that we see, unfortunately, more and more with our young kids. We see these kids that don't want to participate in life, and many of them are, they don't even want to be active because they don't feel good when they're active. They're already developing signs of metabolic disease, and so they'd rather just sit on the phone or stare at the computer or watch video games. And to me, that's definitely a travesty waiting to happen. But there's, again, a lot of money to be made in that. There's a lot of people that are going to continue to thrive on that. And I think, you certainly, if you're going to do that, you certainly have to take care of you can't just participate in the virtual world. You got to participate in the real world too, and take care of your real world stuff.
Yes, I agree completely. So do you feel like then blue light and radiation, what do you feel about that? Do you feel like that makes an impact on our health?
There's in all honesty, I haven't really got into studying that. I know there's a lot of people that believe that, and there's probably good evidence that supports that. I mean, I think anything that takes us out of our natural environment, regardless if it's blue light or not, that takes us away from that, is going to be probably a bit of a negative. And so whether the EMF or the blue light is as awful as everybody seems to say, I don't know for sure. I mean, I don't think we have any good studies that are going to confirm that yet. But at the same time, I do think we spend too much time with this stuff. And it just goes back to my previous point.
I agree completely. So, okay, so what's your vitamin P, or what I call pleasure, passion, purpose?
Vitamin P. I do think that what's giving me the most passion is, seeing people get healthier. I mean, that really drives what I've been doing. I've taken a lot of heat, and I've gotten a lot of arrows sent my way because of what I do. But really, what sustains me every day is, I mean, literally the countless thousands of people now that I've interacted with that have literally told me, you've dramatically positively changed my life, and that's what's really driving. That's what why I went into medicine in the first place. And and unfortunately, medicine, as we practice today, many physicians, they just feel burnt out because it's such a rat race of paperwork and insurance stuff and coding and billing and administrative stuff and drug addiction and and it's such and so the reward part, hey doc, you made me feel better, becomes so overshadowed by the other stuff. And so when you step away from that and what I'm doing now, just basically interacting with people through social media and doing so some one-on-one consulting, which is not practicing medicine but just doing health and lifestyle stuff, is so much more. The reward to hassle ratio is so much better. Before it was 80% hassle, 20% reward. Granted, the financial remuneration was good, but I mean, at the same time, my reward center of helping people is so much higher now, which I think is just really cool.
Oh, I love that, because the doctor takes that vow of first do no harm. And so it's like your passion should be to help people rather than harm them. And so I can see that you're all about that, and you have been since the beginning, it seems like. So that's really cool. As far as my vitamin P is paddleboarding, so I have to ask you, have you ever paddleboarded before?
I have been on a paddleboard exactly one time.
Okay.
And I went swimming several times during that first time, but I really liked it, and it was kind of funny. I lived out here in Southern California, and I took a little paddleboard lesson, got on there, and then they let us do our own devices. And of course, me being very competitive, I wanted to go as fast as I can.
Okay.
So I was going fast and making progress, but I fall off.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
my goal is to get you to sometime I'll go out with you and we'll do a lot of your exercises from the Carnivore Training System on the paddleboard because I teach fitness on the paddleboard. So we'll take some of those exercises.
Yeah, maybe we can do it.
Maybe we can make a new element
of
the
that.
Carnivore Training System.
That would be fun. Yeah, because are you in Florida? Are you in Florida? Is that where you are?
I wish. I'm in the Midwest. You can just put your finger right in the Midwest, and that's where I am in Missouri.
Oh, Missouri. Okay,
Yeah,
I was going
to
to say
travel a lot.
That's definitely weather dependent.
Yeah. So, are you a morning person or a night owl?
I used to be a really tremendous night owl. I mean, I would stay up till 2 a.m. I mean, then I had to work, and then you have to get up at 5:30. So you kind of got shifted into that. But right now, I would say I've shifted more into a morning person. It's kind of interesting. The diet has made me wake up right before dawn every day, and I think that's in tune with our natural rhythms. And I just wake up spontaneously around 5:30 every morning. I just wake up, boom, ready to go. And so I kind of lays around in bed for a little while, just kind of thinking, wow, I don't have to wait for the alarm clock, to wake up. I'm not being rousted out of bed by an alarm clock. I kind of wake up naturally, which is kind of nice. You don't have that big stress response of an alarm clock shocking you out of bed. But I mean, I really do better now with less sleep than I used to. I used to need 8 hours to feel good. Now with the diet, I'm fine on 6. In fact, this morning I got up at 4. My little daughter wasn't feeling good, and so she let me know at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I had to go in and hang out with her and kind of, pretend I was sleeping where I was, because I was in bed with my 2 daughters, and one's 11 and one's about to turn 9, and it was a kind of a queen size or full size bed, queen size bed. So 3 of us in there, and they had room, but Daddy didn't. So I was laying with my girls, trying to take care of them. And,
that's sweet. I'm the same way. I get up naturally. I've never used an alarm clock for probably 5 years, because you just get into that circadian rhythm will just get you up when you're supposed to. So I think that's the way that we should be. If you can do that, that's the way it should be. So
it's interesting how that lines up. Once you line up with circadian biology, a lot of things fall into place. And I think I think there's and I think a natural diet, natural sleep pattern, and then the desire to be outside and exercise. I mean, it all builds on a generally healthy pattern.
You were talking about your kids. How many children do you have, and what are all their ages? Because I know you have boys and girls.
Yeah, so I have 4 children right now, and we're in the process of adopting a 5th. So I have a 13-year-old. Well, no, my son will be 13 in the end of this month, March 26th. My other daughter, my oldest daughter's 11. I've got another daughter will turn 9 in June, and then I've got another boy that's 6 years old. So we got 2 boys, 2 girls. The boys are on the bookends, and not sure what the 5th is going to be yet. We're still, I think, maybe another girl is what we'll end up with. But yeah, I love them. The kids are great. They keep me young. They keep me humble. They always make fun of me.
Yes, they do keep us humble, and they keep us young because they keep us moving. And sometimes they're the best personal trainers too, because if you just do whatever they're doing, you can really get a good workout too. So I love that you're going to adopt. I adopted my daughter, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I think it's a wonderful thing to do. So,
we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Sure.
One more question. What do you think? I know we kind of talked about the epidemic of being behind devices and the little rectangle everybody's kind of glued to, but as far as the biggest health crisis that's facing the world today, what would you say that is?
Wow. I mean, I think it's it's really our acceptance of the fact that we are supposed to take drugs and supplements. I mean, I think, it's not one particular disease. And there, I could say diabetes and obesity and all the chronic diseases out there, but I think the mindset that we've gotten into the fact that we accept illness and taking of drugs and needing these pills and potions as a normal part of human existence. And I think that mindset leads to XYZ epidemic. It's the fact that we expect to get obese as we get older. We expect our joints to hurt as we get older. We expect to basically decay as we get older. And I don't think that's natural human lifespan, excepting for maybe the last year of your life. Maybe that's when that should happen. But beyond that, we should not spend of the 80 years that we're going to have on this earth. We should not expect to spend the last 50 of them with some sort of illness or need for some kind of drug, which so many of us do now. And certainly the fact that, something like 70% of people over 65 are on 5 or more medications, or some ridiculous statistic. That acceptance, more than anything, is just the problem. And I think we have to get out there and say, this is totally, regardless if it's diabetes or cancer or heart disease, this is totally not how human beings are supposed to exist. We're supposed to live a full, robust, healthy life and then drop dead, over a short time. And I really believe that. And I think that's, if you look at pretty much any animal out there, of course the animals have the added worry of getting eaten, because many of them get eaten for a while. But if they do make it their natural lifespan, what happens is they live out their natural lifespan, they get old slow, and then they get eaten. Not that humans should get eaten, but I think, that's how we should be.
I agree. I think that that's a wonderful topic of discussion for an upcoming podcast too, is just like what people could do to get out of that mainstream thought of, well, I guess I'm just getting older. I guess I'll chalk it up to age, or I guess this is the time in my life where I should be on medication. It's not always the case. If they'll look at food first and lifestyle habits and, how much exposure to the outdoors versus radiation from these devices that they're getting, I think they'd see a much different story with their health than what traditional mainstream medicine says that they should be expecting. So yeah, so this has been fun. I thank you for answering all my questions. As far as like how people can find you, I know you mentioned your website, but I also know that you have a couple Facebook group pages that are just been developed. I know even one for recovering vegans. Can you talk about those and also just tell people what they should look for with you coming up?
Yeah, so I'm fairly active on social media, again, despite the desire to not be on the phone as much. Twitter is SBakerMD. Instagram is Shawn, SHAWN, Baker, BAKER, 1967. I have a Facebook group that I started called the World Carnivore Tribe. We now have about 27,000 members that are all participating doing this carnivore style diet. I did start a group for vegans that want to leave veganism behind. We've got well over 1,000 members in that. We call that the Restoration Health Vegan Recovery Group. And so we have great information for people that are wanting to sort of transition away from veganism and do it in a supportive manner. We don't allow people to make fun of or attack vegans. And the same thing in the World Carnivore Tribe. We don't want to. Sometimes I do it on social media, but I do it for different reasons. But in these Facebook groups, we try to keep it as much as we can. When you get to 20,000 people, it's hard to herd all these cats in a certain direction, but we try to do a good job with the moderators. Shawn-Baker.com is my website, and I've got some blog posts and links to the Carnivore Training System. And there's my book's coming out, Carnivore Diet by Shawn Baker, out on Amazon and Barnes & Noble for pre-order. Should be out later in the summer.
Right.
That's there. And then what I'm trying to do now, and I'm working with the guy who helped me develop Carnivore Training System, we're trying to develop a global sort of network to bring in the ranchers, the cattle ranchers, the producers, and better align those with the consumers, the people that are interested in pursuing a meat-based diet. We're going to bring in supportive physicians that are willing to take care of patients, because a lot of times, a person will say, I'm on a ketogenic diet or a carnivore style diet, and their physician will be horrified and tell them, stop immediately, here's a statin type of thing. And we want to have those people to be able to access physicians and other healthcare providers that will be able to really understand what's going on knowledge-wise, and not just do the knee-jerk reflex thing, which so many of them do because they don't have time to understand the nutrition. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be part of that. We're going to have people that are wanting to do kind of health coaching type stuff, like people like yourself or others that have specific interests, whether it's endurance exercise or strength training or body composition stuff, or women specific, or things like that. So, and people, maybe older folks, even how to help your kids negotiate a good diet. And so those things are going to come under one umbrella. We're going to hopefully have some media trying to promote, just how healthy animal nutrition is, and we're trying to, bring all this, and then also help people get some research done. So we get some funding for research. And so it's all under this one organization where I think we're going to call it animalbasednutrition.com. And we're just kind of trying to gather all this stuff up. And also for people that have merchandisers that want to provide their, people may want to sell grills or knives or T-shirts and that sort of stuff. So people, they have access to people that might want to do that. And then people can use that site as a go-to place to get that stuff, maybe get discounts. And so that's coming out this year. We're in the middle of building that right now. Hopefully it'll grow. Hopefully we'll get a lot of support. Might have some forums where people will interact. Maybe, and I just joked around with the guy Garmin. I said, hey, maybe we'll have a carnivore dating site in there too. We have people that are interested in a meat-based diet that want to hook up and meet each other. So we'll see what happens out of that. That's the hope. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, but hopefully, and then also to organize better politically, because we do see that there is an attack on they want to start restricting, taxing, limiting, our access to animal foods, which I think which in my view, is crazy. And I think, taking nutrition out of schools and, they continue to conflate burger, shake, fries, and a Coke with the meat. And I think that's part of the problem. And so
Yes.
we want to start advocating for the ranchers so they can sell direct to the people easier, because there's some barriers right now that make it difficult for the average mom and pop rancher to do that. To make it a financial reality, there has to be some legislative changes to make that occur. So I've got a grand plan. We'll see how well it goes, how much support we get. So far, the feedback's been pretty good, but as it develops over the coming months, I'll be reaching out to people that want to support that, and hopefully, we can work as a community to, direct the future in a way that I think many other people think is better than going towards the plant-based, or what I think ultimately is a processed food route.
Absolutely. That's great. I love the idea of like a online worldwide community where everybody that's really wants to focus on that meat-based approach, whatever way they approach it, is where they can gain access to each other and gain access to all of the many different businesses out there that can join together and help each other. So that's what it's all about, helping each other and getting the good word out. So I appreciate your time today so much, Shawn. It's always a pleasure. And hopefully we can do this again sometime.
Oh, great, Jodelle. Perfect, Jodelle. It's a pleasure having you on, and I'm sure I'll be talking to you in the near future. I hope you enjoy. You getting out and paddleboarding today, or is it too cold up there still?
It's a little chilly today, but I was out the other day when we had about a nice 55-degree day. I was able to get on the water. So yeah, that's
okay. Well, I think it's going to be 80 here tomorrow. So.
Oh, wow. I'm jealous.
Yeah. So if you ever get to Southern California, hit me up and you can show me how to paddleboard. I'd love that.
Absolutely. We'll do some fitness on the water too. So
yeah, we can do that 500 rep squat workout on the paddleboard. What do you think?
I like that idea. Maybe I'll incorporate that too in my workout. So all right, cool.
All
well,
right.
Thanks, Shawn. We'll talk again soon. You have a great afternoon.
Okay, take care.
Okay, bye for now.
When it comes to getting your vitamin D, the sun is always number one. But if you can't get out into the sunshine because your job doesn't allow you to be outside very much, or you just have that part of the world where you don't have the access you would like to have to amazing vitamin D from the fresh sun in the blue sky, I highly recommend checking out LiveWise Naturals. This is a vitamin D drop that I use that they carry that actually it does amazing things to up that vitamin D level when you can't get into the sun. It's combined with MK7, which is a very well done form of K2 that helps to absorb the D3. So make it in your skin when you can, but when you can't, check out LiveWise Naturals and enter code GETFIT to save 10% on their vitamin D3 drops. I use them and I highly recommend them. you.